Alrighty, it looks like it's finally time to do some stories with Bubba. I don't know why I said finally, because it's the first time I've ever done it, and I explained it like 2 days ago, so I don't know what the big issue is. Anyway, it's story time with Bubba. And I actually have a guest with me today. It's my buddy Cal. He'll be back in a second. He's playing some game or something. I had him mute himself. Anyway, yeah, we're both going to tell some stories. I'm going to go first, and then I'm going to see what he comes up with. And this is what it's going to turn into. Originally, it was just going to be me telling stuff, and I was hoping to have guests later, but then I really got bored trying to tell stories just to myself, pretty much. So I called up my buddy Cal, and I think it's going to work this way a lot better. So anyway, yeah, note to post-edit me. All right, let's go.
Hello.
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 This is Cal. He is good boy.
Hello.
All right, Cal, you ready for some story time?
Ready when you are.
Okay, I'm going to tell a story that happened to me from, actually yesterday. Or not yesterday, the day before. Anyway. So I was kayaking down the McCollum River with my dad and a couple family friends. And we ended up running into this grouping of just totally wasted, like 30 to 40-year-old women who were just hanging out like on these little inner tubes, and they were like struggling to get to land, and we helped them the first time. We had to help them up the first time, and they were really grateful and stuff, and they were just like, my dad had music going on a Bluetooth speaker, and they were just dancing around all dumb because they couldn't, focus on anything. Anyway, yeah, so they were dancing around, and there was like one of them that was not as intoxicated, but they all were kind of, drunk. Anyway, so we started going on our kayaks. Actually, they went first, and then we went on our kayaks, and we ended up finding them again, and they were all like scattered about in this little corner on the river, and they were like, "Please help!" They asked us to tie them to the back of our kayaks and drag them along, and we did. We got little ropes and we tied their little inner tubes to our kayaks. It was so funny. They were just like, they didn't even know what they were doing, except for one of them was not as intoxicated, but she still was. So anyway, so we started dragging them around down the river on our way back, and they were just so funny. Oh my gosh, because they didn't know what they were doing. The one lady I was dragging on the back of mine, she was like, I'm not even kidding, she was just like, moaning and looking around like she had no idea what was going on, and then she would like randomly spurt out, I love you, to like different things that she saw. Like there was a tree, and she just looked at it and pointed at it and said, I love you, and just random stuff, and it was so funny. And then I was paddling the kayak, and then she starts trying to paddle too, and I was like, yeah, thanks for the help, but you're gonna knock yourself off the tube, because she did it a couple times. She kept like trying to help me swim, and she would just fall face first into the water. Like, I didn't even know what to do. I just would have to keep stopping, and she'd have to climb back up onto the tube. Oh my gosh, it was just so funny. And anyway, but at one point I had two other ones attached to that lady. She was the first. She kept letting go of the rope, so finally I had her tie it to the tube. But anyway, and the other ladies were back there just laughing and having a good time, and they started calling me Mr. Incredible, and I was like, what? Like I didn't get it. I thought it was funny, like maybe because I was like pulling them on the kayak or something, but I wasn't the only one doing it, because there was like maybe 7 of them, and I had 3 or 4 of them on the back of mine, and then the other family friends of mine had some other ones, but and then I finally figured it out, because I had a red life vest on, and I was like, oh, that must be what they're talking about. But they were just like, they were saying, "I love you, Mr. Incredible," something like that. It was so funny. And eventually, we're going down the river a little further, and I had the four, and the youngest one, the actual one that was the least drunk, but she still was drunk. She asked me, "Hey, how old are you?" And I told her,
boy.
and for, I'm not going to reveal my age on here, but it's under 21, let me tell you that. And I told her, and she said, "Damn it," like immediately. And I was just laughing in my head, because she was genuinely coming on to me earlier, because she kept like, she even told me, so I had a few times when I wasn't the one carrying them, I would go in front of like branches and stuff and just sit there with my kayak and push their tubes away. And one of the times she told me, "Dude, if I ever have kids, I want them to be like you." And I was like, dying, and I had to just compose myself because I didn't want to be rude, but it was so funny. And but yeah, so when she asked me my age, it was just like the final step in coming on to me, you know what I mean? And then I told her, and she just goes, "Damn it." And oh my gosh, that was funny. It was really, really funny. And then they offered my 17-year-old buddy alcohol, and he was like, "Nah, I'm good." And I don't know. It was just funny. And then we eventually stopped, and we docked and stuff, and I was trying to dock them, but they were like, "Oh no, we're good. We're good to go now." And I was like, "Are you sure? Like, you think you can make it?" And they're like, yeah. And so they went, and I just hope they made it, They went down the river on their little tubes, and I hope they made it to the landing spot. But yeah, no, that was really, really funny. I have one more story from that day, and then Cal, you go ahead and tell whatever you want.
I got none so far.
But so yeah, that was really funny. We were all laughing about that one, especially my dad. Oh, that actually reminds me. So I have a story from him that he told me. He was telling me that the other time that he went on the same river, but I wasn't there for that. Same family, friends that went with him and everything. Anyway, he was on the river, and there was this chick that had, I guess, fallen off a boat at some time. Or not a boat, but like her kayak or a tube or something. And my dad was in the very back of our group, and he saw her, and she was like she had a life jacket on, or no, she didn't. And my dad was like, "Well, do you need help?" And he threw his life jacket out to her, and she was more wasted than the people I saw. And she was like struggling to swim and stuff, and she's like, no, I got it. When my dad threw her the life jacket, she pushed it back towards him, and then he threw it back, and she put it on for a minute, and she was swimming around, and then she like was connected to my dad's kayak, I guess, somehow, and eventually she let go and took off the jacket and was like, "I'm a mermaid." And she was like floating around trying to swim, and my dad was just laughing. He told me he couldn't keep himself together, but eventually he just tied her to the back of his boat and brought her to shore to save her, because she would have drowned. There was nobody around her, and she was just drunk off her arse, and oh my gosh. But yeah, so that was the funny story from him. And then there was this other guy. This one was one of my stories. Is that same day in the Colony River, on the river, and we were docked in this one spot, and this group of people came, and they were trying to get onto land as well, but this lady lost her sandals, and they were floating in the water, and so one of her friends, who I think was like either high or mildly drunk, I couldn't tell which, but anyway, he got off, or no, he was trying to go get the sandals in his inner tube, and so he went and he followed the sandals, and I was like, this guy has no way of getting back, because the river was running pretty fast, and so I was like, jeez. So I got on my kayak, And I went to go follow him because I was like, well, somebody's got to take him back. Except me being dumb, I forgot to bring a rope with me. So anyway, the water puts him into this little pocket of, it's like just a tiny little area that the water wasn't flowing, but the water was flowing really fast outside of it, so it was hard to get back through. Anyway, so I got over there with him, and I guess he had the sandals, and I was like, dude, do you need some help? And he was like, actually, what did he say? Oh yeah, he says, oh, thank you, man. Like, his voice was literally like the typical Californian surfer dude. That's what you think of when he was talking.
Oh, that's gnarly, dude.
I know, it was so funny. And, but yeah, and then I told him, just, hook yourself on the back of my kayak and I'm going to see if we can push up river. If not, we're going to have to walk. Because it was low enough to walk, but the water was running fairly fast. Anyway, but so I tried rowing up river and I just couldn't do it. It was going too fast. And so I was like, okay, we're going to have to walk. But then my other buddy, the family friend, came over with a rope and then tied him to the back of his kayak. And then tried the same thing I did, but it didn't work. So we had to eventually start walking. But, I mean, I can't even remember what he was saying. But he was just kind of like deliriously laughing about and saying like, oh yeah, I had it. I knew exactly what I was doing, bro. But he was thanking us, of course. He was like, oh, thank you for your help, man. But anyway, that's not the funniest part. But anyway, so we got back. Eventually, we walked across the stream, and he was attached to the back of one of my buddy's kayaks. And we got back, and the dude, I guess, went to hand the lady her sandals. And she said she didn't care about them. Like, she said she didn't even want those things. And he was just, like, crushed. He's like, he did all that effort. And so did we. For this lady to be like, oh, yeah, I didn't care about those anyway. It's like, wow. I don't know. But it was funny. It was an interesting time. What about you, Cal? You got any good stories to tell? Any interesting
Not
things
really.
to bring up? God, come on, man. You got something.
I don't.
Yes,
Not
you
really.
do, you liar boy.
I'm fired, but I don't really know.
Nothing's happened to you recently at all? Nothing?
No.
No. You are a liar. Okay. Thanks for listening, boys. I mean, Cal. Yeah, no, that was the first little episode thing of Storytime with Bubba. Next time, I don't know who I'll have on as a guest, and hopefully I can record some more with Cal when he actually, has a story to tell. Anyway, Cal, say bye to everybody.
Bye.
All right, that's the end. Goodbye.